Farouk lived in a peaceful village surrounded by sandy dunes. Each morning, he woke up early to watch the sunrise, casting a golden glow over the village rooftops. His home was small but cozy, with mud walls and a thatched roof. The gentle sounds of birds and goats in the morning felt like a natural alarm clock. Farouk was 12, full of energy, and always curious about everything around him. He especially loved listening to his grandfather's stories, which were full of wisdom, adventure, and mystery. Whenever Farouk finished his chores, he would rush to sit by his grandfather, who always sat on an old mat outside their home. One evening, after dinner, his grandfather started telling a story about an old family heirloom, a small, ancient amulet. It had once been passed down from generation to generation in their family. But one day, long ago, the amulet disappeared, and no one knew where it went. Some say it brings good fortune, his grandfather whispered. If it ever returns to our family, it might change someone's life. Farouk's eyes widened, and his heart began to race. The thought of the lost amulet filled him with wonder. Could such a treasure still be out there somewhere? Farouk couldn't stop thinking about the amulet after that evening. Every day, he imagined what it might look like and how it would feel to hold it. It wasn't just a necklace, it was a symbol of his family's past and the courage of the generations before him. His grandfather's stories always left him with questions. He thought about his ancestors who lived in the village and how they treasured that amulet. Farouk felt like he was part of something much bigger, like he was connected to people he had never even met. One day, as Farouk helped his mother fetch water from the village well, he asked, "Mama, do you think the amulet is real? Do you think it will ever come back to us?" His mother smiled. "My son, life is full of surprises. Sometimes, the things we are meant to have find their way back to us in strange ways. Just be patient and keep your heart open." Farouk held on to these words, hoping that one day, he might see the amulet himself. Months later, Farouk's family received exciting news. They were going to the city of Kano for a grand festival. Farouk had heard about Kano but had never been there. The journey was long and tiring, with their donkey cart rattling over bumpy roads. But Farouk's excitement kept him wide awake. When they finally arrived, the city was beyond anything Farouk had imagined. People crowded the streets, and the air was filled with the smell of spicy food and the sounds of drumming. Farouk's eyes widened as he took in the colorful robes, bustling market stalls, and tall buildings. It was like a different world. They passed by stall after stall selling everything from leather sandals to bright fabrics. Then, suddenly, something caught Farouk's eye. It was a small necklace with an amulet hanging from it, looking just like the one his grandfather had described. Farouk stopped and stared, unable to believe his eyes. Could it really be the amulet his grandfather had told him about? Farouk gathered his courage and approached the store. The vendor, an elderly woman with bright eyes and a kind smile, noticed him looking at the amulet. "Are you interested in this?" she asked gently, picking up the necklace. Farouk nodded, barely able to speak. "Where did you get it?" he asked, his voice shaking. The woman smiled. "Oh, this old thing. It was passed down in my family. We used to live in a small village, much like yours, far from here." Farouk's heart raced. "My grandfather told me a story about an amulet just like this. He said it went missing a long time ago," he whispered, almost to himself. The woman's eyes sparkled with interest. "Is that so? Perhaps fate has brought you to me, then," she said kindly. After a pause, she handed the amulet to Farouk. "I think this belongs with you." For Farouk, it felt like he was in a dream. He had brought home something precious, something that meant the world to his family. He knew he would never forget this day. After the celebration, Farouk's grandfather called him over. With a serious yet gentle expression, he placed his hands on Farouk's shoulders. "You did a great thing, "Farouk," he said, "this amulet is more than just an object. It reminds us of our family, our honor, and our values. Always remember who you are and where you come from." Farouk looked up, feeling a deep sense of pride and responsibility. His grandfather's words were like a secret message meant just for him. It was as if he were passing on not only a blessing, but a part of their family's strength. "Life may twist and turn, Farouk, but true treasures always find their way back home," his grandfather whispered, and gently touched Farouk's head in blessing. Years passed, and Farouk grew older, but he never forgot the story of the amulet. It became a story he shared with others in the village, especially the younger children who loved hearing about faith and family. When he looked at the amulet, he felt connected to his roots, to the values his grandfather had taught him. He felt braver, wiser, and more determined to carry on his family's legacy. One evening, he stood on a small hill overlooking the village as the sun began to set. The amulet hung from his neck, and he knew he would carry it with him wherever he went, along with the love, courage, and wisdom it represented. The end.